The Pelicans are officially all in on Zion Williamson, but one crucial mistake could absolutely derail everything. Today on Locked On Pelicans, the one thing New Orleans must avoid. It's the Thursday episode. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans and NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available wherever you get your podcasts and available on YouTube. I'm your host, Pelicans Insider, credential member of the media, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter, here with you on this Thursday, and the Pelicans officially all in on Zion Williamson, according to Joe Dumars. We'll break down what he said about Zion, but one thing that if you're going to go all in on Zion, you absolutely cannot do. We'll get to that in the second part of today's show. And then, we got an update on Willie Green as well. It looks like he is staying. We're going to break it all down in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Become an everydayer. Join over 11,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube and more than that on podcast listens. And if you're an everydayer, let me know in the comments down below. So let's get right into this one. Joe Dumars has spoken to the media. I'm going to pull these quotes here from Wad Walker over at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, and let's just get right into it. They're building around Zion. They're not waiving him. It doesn't sound like they plan to trade him. And then I'll explain what these quotes kind of really mean here. So, quote, "I've had really good conversations with Zion," Joe Dumars said. "We've had lunch, dinner, watched playoff games together. We've done it all. I've had some real honest conversations with him, some real direct and honest conversations. We're going forward with Zion. He's going to continue to be a focal point here as we go forward. I sent him to the lottery for a reason. I wanted him to start focusing on the responsibilities of being the best player here in the focal point. There are some responsibilities that come with that. Go represent your organization." Doesn't get much more clear than that, right? Like, they're not trading Zion. They are building around Zion. In relation to the recent allegations around Zion Williamson, Joe Dumars said they take those allegations seriously, and he's been advised not to comment on that. Gail Benson made a comment the other day that was, quote, "Lawsuits are lawsuits. You really can't, people can sue you for anything. There's no reason. You can be innocent or not. It's just something that people do, unfortunately," end quote. They're clearly showing you how they feel about these allegations against Zion Williamson right now. And that probably can give you some insight there. Again, I don't want to spend much time on that stuff, but it doesn't sound like that is impacting the Pelicans whatsoever. So they're building around Zion going forward. Look, if you want to be competitive next year, this is absolutely the move to do, right? And truthfully, if you kind of look at it, the Pelicans are in a no-lose situation when it comes to this, I think, around him right now, which is funny because my show the other day was like, he's put them in a no-win situation. I also think that's true. But in terms of on-court and managing the franchise, they're okay here when it comes to it. Look, building around Zion makes sense. He had an incredible net rating with the team last year. They had their net rating was 11.7 with him on the court. They were 8.2 points per 100 possessions better on offense with Zion, and they were 3.1 points per 100 possessions. There we go. Better on defense. Gives you a net rating of 11.3 here. That extrapolates out to about 24 additional wins from where they were. They won 21 games last year. You add another 24 wins on that if Zion were to have played the whole season, puts you at about 45 wins, right? That's kind of your, if Zion plays the whole season, your floor is above 40 wins. It's not an exact number like that. And I did some more extrapolating out with net rating, and it correlates to a number of wins and things like that. But basically, Zion gives you minimum 40 wins, kind of going off of the way he played this past season. 40 wins. That's what he can almost guarantee your team is going to do. Now, That's pretty good for just one player doing that, right? If Herb Jones plays the whole season, if Trey Murphy is healthy to start the year, if Brandon Ingram doesn't miss all of the time that he missed, right? Like, you look at that and you wonder how good this team could have been. DeJounte Murray as well. CJ missed a bunch of time. There's enough talent here to feel good about the team going forward. And clearly the Pelicans do, based off of Joe Dumars' comments, right? Zion Williamson, when he plays, and that's the key to this whole thing, when he plays, will help you win a whole lot of basketball games. So here's why they're, look, in a no-lose situation. One of the reasons why they're going to keep him, right? There's no market for Zion Williamson, I think, out there right now. I don't think teams are actively trying to trade for him or anything like that. If you could get a really good offer for him, I think they might actually take that. But that's not the case, right? The team also doesn't want to rebuild, right? And if you were to trade him away, you would be a worse team. And it makes you less marketable. It's just, are you relevant? Do people care if Zion Williamson's not there or not playing? So when you look at it in terms of his values at an all-time low, trading him now or later doesn't matter, right? Holding on to him is probably the best move. The value can really only go up. And that leads to one of two things, right? If he plays, well, that's a game changer for the Pelicans. And all of a sudden you start looking at the franchise and their future and their trajectory completely different. If he plays and you're going to be good and be a playoff team, you're going to feel great about Zion Williamson and building around him going forward. And if he doesn't, you can just pivot, right? If you trade him now or at the deadline, is anything going to change? Nope, nothing like that. The only thing that's different is you just can't waive him. And even then, you should probably just try and trade him, even if it's for like expiring salary or something like that, right? And when you look at the impact that Zion has, well, yeah, that also means you're not going to, just give up on him, even if maybe you kind of want to. It's like a drug. It's tough to quit here. And so that's kind of where the Pelicans stand with it. Look, if this season doesn't get off to the start that you want, for whatever reason, you can always pivot at the deadline and become sellers. Real as simple as that. Nothing needs to be done right now, and you may as well evaluate it for a little bit longer, given how good it could potentially be here in New Orleans with Zion Williamson. So the Pelicans are making Zion Williamson the focal point going forward. They're building around Zion, at least for 1 year, let's say. There's also one thing they, under no circumstances, should do at all. And that's offer Zion Williamson an extension. He's about to be eligible for one. I'll explain why that is the one thing they absolutely cannot do. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NBA Finals are here, and every night is going to have tons of highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. They start tonight. So whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. And FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. The Oklahoma City Thunder are minus 9.5 in Game 1. I actually like that. I think they might blow the doors off the Indiana Pacers here in Game 1. Maybe you think Indiana is going to steal Game 1 on the road like they did against the New York Knicks. If you think that's going to happen here, though, take the points. And guess what? Think about $200 in bonus bets to add to the excitement if your first $5 bet wins. So if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast, covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and join over 11,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well and become an everydayer. That means you listen Monday through Friday to the Locked On Pelicans podcast. There we go. And if you're an everydayer, let me know in the comments down below. Do you like this decision to build around Zion Williamson? Do you think this is the wrong move? Do you think they should just waive him? Let me know what you think. For your second listen today, check out the Locked On NBA Big Board Show. NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. They are an invaluable tool, and we'll get back into more draft stuff and trading around in the draft. That's in tomorrow's episode of Locked On Pelicans. You're not going to want to miss that one at all. So the Pelicans are building around Zion Williamson. And, whether they truly want to do that or not, maybe this is just kind of PR lip service, and you should do that, right? Given how low his value is, sure, right? Publicly back him, do all of the right things, commit to him in a sense, right? But under no circumstances, should the Pelicans give him any sort of extension on his current deal. He is going to be extension eligible once we hit the new league year of July 1. No. I'm going to be adamant about this one here. Build around him this year. Try and win with him this year. Maybe even keep him for a couple of more years. Absolutely. No extension at all. At all. And here's why. The way his current contract is set up, the weirdness of it with the partial guarantees, then voided years and all of that, and then it can re-guarantee, but also, unguarantee and all of that stuff. Kind of the lasting legacy of David Griffin here is the Pelicans pull cord in case of emergency. It's your emergency shoot, something like that, right? It's your emergency exit essentially. So right now, let's focus on next season, right? So next league new year. Only about $7.9 million of his contract is guaranteed. You could waive him by July 15th and only pay that, and then you're just out from under the rest of the deal. Next year, he's set to make $39.5. Then it's $42.16, then $44.8 in the final year of the deal in 2027, 2028. And again, the way guarantees work is not that his salary will get lower. Basically, if he's on the team past a certain date, he's getting every penny of that contract, whether he plays a game or not. And that's why I've always thought, his contract and the fact that they could waive him is, like a little bit overdone when people spend a lot of time talking about it, because that's the only way it would happen. It's not like, well, he only played 20 games, so he gets, 25% of his contract or something like that. No, that's not how it works. So, for Zion, you're going to keep him. So he's going to get his $39.5 million next season, right? But after that, you have outs. Look, if he doesn't play next year, we hope it'll happen. You can just keep him on that roster a whole year and then, maybe misses games, whatever it is, right? Doesn't hit the thresholds to re-guarantee the contract. You can just waive him in the offseason and just be like, these final 2 years, we're done. Give Joe Dumars a year to make the decision and figure out what he wants to do here. It's pull cord. I don't know. What's the phrase? In case of break glass. That's what it is. Break glass in case of emergency. I can't believe it took me that long to hit it here, right? That's your break glass in case of emergency. It's your emergency exit. If it doesn't work out next year, cool, you just waive him. You're going to be bad. You'll get a good lottery pick, and then boom, done. And you can move on from him. But here's the thing. Again, back him publicly. Do all the things to show you're committed to Zion Williamson, but do not give him an extension, because if you give him an extension, it guarantees the rest of his current contract. So if you give him an extension this offseason and then he doesn't play at all, you can't then just waive him. It won't work like that. It will guarantee the full contract, the remaining years that he has left. Pelicans cannot do that, given that, look, it's still a risk. We've been here before where we said this year is going to be different, and it hasn't been that different. While things have trended better, and I'll admit that, you still eventually just need to look at the results. And banking on things to really be different in year 7 is probably not the smartest move. We can hope. I hope. But I don't see that coming, right? When Joe Dumars says, I've had really good conversations with Zion. We've had lunch, dinner, watched playoff games together. We've done it all, and we've had some real honest conversations with him, some real direct and honest conversations. You know, do you think David Griffin didn't have real direct and honest conversations with Zion Williamson? Zion was close with Teresa Witherspoon. Do you think Teresa Witherspoon didn't have real direct and honest and tough conversations with Zion Williamson? In those conversations, do you think Zion Williamson was ever like, yeah, no, I'm not going to try that hard or do any of the stuff, right? Look, they've had real direct, honest conversations, and Zion showed up this past offseason out of shape. It's just a fact. You could see it in those couple of games in the beginning before he got hurt. It wasn't good. That's how it's been. Now, so if Joe Dumars has that conversation with him and Zion Williamson doesn't want to get waived and lose that money, what do you think he's going to say? What would anyone say in that situation, right? So I'm skeptical till I see it. Look, I'm hopeful it will happen. I mean that. But everything that's kind of being said now, like we've heard this before. We've been here before. It's exhausting. At least to me. Maybe that's because I do a show 5 days a week about it, right? Now, look, maybe he connects with Joe Dumars differently. He easily could. I'm not doubting that is a possibility. But there have been multiple people who have tried to get through, let's say, to Zion Williamson, and it hasn't worked. Maybe Joe Dumars is the man with the magic touch, and that would make hiring him worthwhile just for that. I mean it. But again, I'm going to be skeptical. And that's not anything to do with Joe Dumars. That has more to do with Zion Williamson than anything else. So I'm skeptical of this, right? We've heard this before. We've seen Zion be like, I'm in the best shape in the offseason. And then like he isn't. Now, admittedly, he looked different. He played different this past season. He was trying more on defense than we've ever seen before. He made an effort to improve his rebounding. Those are big, those are like hustle things, right? Those are effort type of things that he wasn't doing before. And he got better at them. Admittedly, his defensive rebounding rate was by far the highest of his career last season. That's an encouraging sign to me. So there is that, right? Like that is not nothing when it comes down to it. The steal and block percentage were the highest of his career. You know, his usage rate was even the highest of his career. In terms of number of possessions that he's using. That's effort. That takes a toll on your body. It tires you out, and he was still doing all of that. So there's reasons to be optimistic and positive about it. But everything's good right now because you're not playing games. There's no adversity or anything like that the team has hit. And that's what I've seen this team really struggle with is when things get tough, when you go on a 3-game losing streak, whether, when you're in the middle of the season and everyone's exhausted. This team has not responded to that kind of adversity well. Zion has not responded to adversity particularly well. There's no adversity right now. I mean, maybe there is, in terms of his personal life and stuff like that, the off-court stuff. So, I take that back. But you get the point that I'm trying to make. Let's see this a little bit later. It's easy to say all these things right now, but he's going to just have to show it. It's really as simple as that, and it's a little bit of wait and see. And because it's wait and see, do not under any circumstances give Zion Williamson an extension because it takes away your emergency exit should you need it. Now, Joe Dumars wasn't done talking in the interview he had with Rod Walker of NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. Willie Green staying. This is a gamble. This is a bet. And I'll tell you what that bet is. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast, covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and join over 11,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well. And become an everydayer. Listen Monday through Friday to the Locked On Pelicans podcast. And let me know if you're an everydayer down below. Do you agree with the decision on Zion Williamson? Do you think the team should give him an extension? Do you agree with me that they should not give him an extension? Let me know what you think. And let me know what you think about head coach Willie Green. Because look, Willie Green is staying. We've kind of already known this, that he was going to be staying. But it's kind of, official now. I don't think for players under, people under contract, right? Like I laugh at this. Let me read you the quote, then I'll tell you with like what's kind of going on here, right? So Willie Green is saying, quote, "It's hard for me, Joe Dumars, to come in here and say, here's how I assessed Willie last year," Dumars said. "I wasn't here. All I can do is move forward and guide and create and lead and put expectations on what we need to do here to be successful, and only then can I judge Willie Green or anyone else. I was pleased with what I heard. I'm looking forward to going forward and working with Willie to push us to success. You've got to set the bar, and that's what we're going to do," end quote. So Willie Green is safe. Now, I find it kind of funny that like guys under contract, he's kind of your head coach till you say he's not the head coach. So coming in and being like, I'm keeping him, and he's responding to a question. So it's a little bit different, right? It's not like the Pelicans put out a statement being like, we're not firing Willie Green, when it's like, well, why do you need to do that when he's under contract, right? Just kind of the whole situation makes me laugh a little bit here. But he's asked a question and he answered that. And I think that's an honest answer from Joe Dumars, right? He wasn't around last year. He didn't see it. You can watch it from afar, but that's not the same as being in the building. And so he came in, he did his fact-finding, his talking, and it seems like he's liked everything that he's heard and wanted to try and go forward with Willie Green. And then he'll judge him on the expectations that Joe Dumars is setting and not on anybody else's expectations, including the fans, is basically what he's saying here. That's valid, in my opinion. Joe Dumars has every right to be able to come in and do that with the franchise that he is leading now. So Willie Green is really going to be judged on this season. And look, this is a bet. This is a bet on Willie Green. This is a bet that the recent struggles for this team have been due to injury. And look, when I went over those impact numbers from Zion Williamson, and when you look at how many injuries this team has dealt with to key people, mainly Zion, but also Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, and others over the past, not just year, but couple of years, right? That's what's holding them back more than anything else, in my opinion. Look, Willie Green has his faults. I would probably personally make a change there. But he's not the number one, two, probably, or even third reason why this team has not reached their potential and what they're capable of doing. It's his faults. Look, the team 2 years ago that won 49 games, I don't think they won just on talent. I think that's just a throwaway thing, and that's not true, because then you lose on talent too, right? And if your talent's not playing, then you're losing, so thus it's not Willie Green's fault. You get into weird logic with that. But that team definitely didn't reach its potential. And that is a coaching thing at times. And, it's a number of other things at times too, but that's part of it, right? So this is a bet on Willie Green that we just haven't seen the best of him yet. And that with a healthy roster, whatever that roster looks like, you would expect there's going to be more changes here. With a healthy roster, Willie Green can come in and really deliver in a way that we have not seen this team do before. I don't know. That's kind of an exciting thing, in my opinion, about what they could look like, what they could do, and how this team could play. So I truthfully hope that that's going to be the case. That, this is someone who's going to come in and be like, look at what I can do when I got my guys playing. You can put in an offensive system, but if Zion doesn't play, that offensive system falls apart. They even tried to build the system without Zion, and it didn't really work. It shouldn't work. You should build around your best players, and if they don't play, you just tough it out as much as you can. So this is what this is. This is a bet on Willie Green that, he's a good coach, and that this is someone that can lead you to a number of victories here. It might not be the case, right? But as we kind of just went over with Zion Williamson and things, doing this for one more year with Zion makes sense given where his value is and things like that. And if you decide to pull the ripcord, break glass in case of emergency at the trade deadline or in a year, look, at that point you can fire Willie Green. You can move on from Willie Green and go in a different direction. Who your head coach is this year, if Zion's not playing and you need to get out from under him, essentially, right? Move him off of the team. Your head coach don't matter, right? That's what I'm trying to say here. It comes down to health. That's going to be the number one thing for this team and this team's success or not. Do you have the health to be able to do it? And if you do, great. If you don't, it's not going to end up mattering in the slightest. So they have this opportunity to do the evaluation that they need to do. And look, we'll see if it works or not. I actually don't know. I really don't know what to expect, at least right now when it comes to it, from this Pelicans team this season, because look, we don't know what the rest of the roster is going to look like just yet. But as of right now, two of the key pieces are set. Willie Green is staying. Zion Williamson is staying, barring some unforeseen circumstances here. But there will be other changes. We'll see. We talked about it in yesterday's show. We'll see what ends up happening with James Borrego. We'll, see how they look to remake the roster. Joe Dumars said this is a good draft. They're going to get a good player at 7. I agree very much with that. So we at least have a more clarity, in my opinion, of what the team is looking to do, what they're looking to accomplish. They're trying to win next year. They're not going to go through they're at least not going to start a rebuild right now. And yeah, that kind of makes sense for the players that they have and for how this organization just wants to operate in the first place when it comes to everything. But at least we kind of know where the starting point is, and that means we can, talk about the things that are appropriate to that going forward, right? So that's I think a very, very useful bit of information to know. And again, you can pull the cord on all of this in a year, as long as you do not, under any circumstances, extend Zion Williamson's contract. Don't do that. So coming up tomorrow's show, we're looking at the draft. I'm talking about not the 7th pick. I'm going to look at trading back in the draft. So moving the 7th pick, maybe getting multiple picks, maybe trading back up into the 1st, even after drafting someone at 7. There's a few guys that I really think they should look at for that. And I think it's easier to make that happen in this draft than you might think. We'll even look at trying to trade up in this draft and what that would look like. And the guys that we would be targeting, or I think they should be targeting. I've got a couple in mind. See if you can guess them down below that I think are really intriguing and guys that you want to go and make moves for. So that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Pelicans. As always, I'm your host, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter. This is the Locked On Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Join over 11,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.